Hi everyone, I'm very pleased to have this conversation today with Fernanda Moraes, a long-term friend of mine and someone who has an incredible career and lots of great advice. She's worked as a stylist, as a fashion designer, and she actually had a really complicated time being an entrepreneur for the first time around in her life in Brazil. And after that, she pivoted her career completely and went into arts. So she's now an arts advisor. She has a consultancy in Brazil, and she knows a lot about changing your mindset, picking up the pieces and moving on, and maybe changing how you see the world. So without further ado, here's Fernanda. Today I am virtually with Fernanda Moraes, who is an art advisor and the founder of plus FV Arte Bureau, which is difficult to say in English. I don't know if I said that right. It covers art advising, consulting for private collections, exhibitions, and production of cultural content. She's had a very broad career, and she's here to tell us how she got to where she is. So welcome, Faye.
Thank you for that introduction, Belle. Thank you for having me here. I hope I can answer to all your questions and we have a nice chat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're having yourself at your house, which is really sad, but yeah.
Yeah,
like very distant.
Together.
soon, once coronavirus allows.
Yes.
So Faye, before we start, tell us where you are right now. I would like you to share what is your worst work experience you ever had. It can be anything, like a disaster that happened at a job, a really bad job.
Okay. So right now I'm at my house. We are actually working from home still in Brazil. And I'm talking to you guys from my office at home. My worst work experience, that is a tough one because, well, I don't know about all of you, but I had a few. So, but I guess when I was working with fashion back in my early days, I had a amazing tutor who was one of the best designers there is still. But at the same time, he was really harsh. So it was hard to work with. He would be very rude sometimes and just like say whatever was on his mind. And it was difficult to take, especially because I was very young. So I don't think I had the tools to know how to cope with this kind of treatment. But it used to happen a lot. You see, like he would yell at me and say, well, call me names and say whatever. But it was a pretty tough experience. I stayed with him for 2 years, so it was a long time. But
that's intense.
Yeah, it was. But you know, Belle, like now, after you get over the situation, you see that I took a lot from it, like a lot of good stuff. I learned how to cope with it. But at the same time, I learned especially what not to do with people. I know what I cannot do with anyone because he was a master at his profession and what he did. But at the same time, you do have to learn how to deal with people. You can't just back on your expertise on your job and to hell with people, you know?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Especially not in the creative industries, I don't think.
Yes.
You need a lot of people around you.
When you have someone that is learning and they are learning from you, I guess you need to be a little bit more respectful. They are there and they are trying their best. So this is one thing that I have in mind all times. I think people are always, I start from the point that I believe that people are always trying to do their best. And if they are not, it will show up at one point, you know?
Did you study fashion? No.
No, actually.
You just worked in fashion, right?
Yeah, it's curious because I am an industrial designer. I went to high school to do industrial design because I wanted to design cars.
No,
yeah.
Cars?
Yes.
No, I never knew that. That's crazy.
This is something that like most people don't know about me. But yes, I absolutely love cars, like the design of it and all and all that is involved with designing it. So the things you see, but also the things you do not see. Well, that's why I got into the industrial design. But life happens. In my first year, I was called to work at Vogue, the magazine.
Nice.
So I started in Vogue, Brazil, and they used to have another issue that was called RG, like RG, Vogue, and I worked there for like a year and a half.
But wait, what did you do there?
I was a stylist.
What?
Like an assistant stylist, yes.
I mean, you are very stylish, but that's crazy.
Well, thank
I didn't
you.
know that. I don't remember that. I mean, that's so long ago. I mean, not that long ago. We're very young, but it was a while ago. It's like another life for you.
Yeah, I know. I don't even remember how it happened exactly, but I think someone just picked me up and said, "Hey, like, would you like to work with me and like be an assistant stylist at Vogue?" I was, well, why not? Right? So I went.
Obviously, yeah.
And from there, things just developed itself. Like I start designing clothing for a national brand, and I work at this brand for a couple of years, and then I moved to this one that I told you that I had like an amazing experience, but also a harsh time with the boss. And he was internationally known. He's Brazilian, but he used to have an atelier in Paris. And I stayed with him like a year and a half. And then I just like decided to go on my own, like let's try and be an entrepreneur and open something of mine.
Yeah, that I remember quite clearly because is that when you opened your store?
Yes.
You had a menswear brand.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was
you have
beautiful.
Good memory, because this is like, well, I think it's more than 11 years now.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I mean, I've known you for quite a while, or I should say, you've known me, because I guess.
Well, I don't remember. Also, I mean, we know each other for life.
Yes, exactly. So Fiz's brother is my best friend, and so we literally met when we were babies, all of us.
Right, because you've been like Rafa's friend forever. Like since I can remember, you are his first friend.
Yes, I like to think so. I like to think that I'm his only friend as well, but that's not true. But
well, I'd like
look at which we're dreaming.
I like to believe that now you are my friend as well. Like Rafael doesn't like that idea, but I'm working on it with him.
Yeah, okay. We can tackle him together. Sure. But you're definitely my friend, Faye. Don't tell him. But I remember the story because I think you were one of the first people I knew at the time that was doing their own thing, which is, being an entrepreneur in Brazil, it can be quite difficult. There are a lot of challenges and bureaucracy. And so like menswear is already something even more difficult, I think. At the time it wasn't as big as it is now. You were quite forward thinking in your approach.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a compliment, but it was also one of the things that played against me as well. So yes, it was. I always admire the simple things in design. So the simplest it is, the more I like it. It's not about being like, oh, plain, It's not boring simple. It's just if you can manage to do something that is going to catch your attention, your eye, stay in your memory, but in the simplest way that you can do, this is something that interests me. So that's why I went to the men's clothing. But it is hard to do something amazing with less lines. So because in women you have a lot of furnishment, like you have bows, you have lace, you have this, you have textures. But with men, it's always a challenge. I had 2 partners and it was called Corda, and we put a really nice brand together. So we had this physical store in a nice street in São Paulo. It was kind of big. Do you remember?
Yes, it was beautiful. I really liked it. It's
And
very clean.
yeah, it was very clean, and the concept was very round as well. So you could see what we were doing in the clothing, but also in the architecture, in the furniture, in the art that was inside. We did great. We had amazing clients that would go there week after week, which is different for men, right? They don't usually go shopping every week at the same store, but it
Yeah.
happened in ours. But bureaucracy in Brazil, manufacturing clothing here back in the days like 2009, 2010, 2011, it was really really hard.
So, but did you do the design, but you did a bit of the business as well at the time then? I assume you did a bit of everything
I
in
did
the
a bit of
company.
everything, but I was head of designing. So I would design the whole collection from like bottle to top, everything. Then I had a partner who would do like business wise all the math, all the numbers, everything. And the other partner would do marketing. But of course, we were like every day in the same office, so we would work together all the decisions.
But then, yeah, then that how long did that last for? Because you afterwards you went and decided to do something else.
Yeah, it lasted for 3 years because, like you said, the market was really, really tiny at the time. It wasn't like this. We had a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of taxes, a lot of issues with manufacturing and pricing. So at the end, we decided to close the store and the brand. And I have to tell you, Belle, that I was really, really sad, because
Yeah.
when you start something, it's kind of a baby, like you build it from the start. So you nourish it, you put a lot of intention and like hours and thinking and wishing. So you take good care of it. And in the end, you have to leave it behind. It's like a relationship as well. There's
Yes, for
part
sure.
of your life that is going to stay behind. And sometimes you just can't help feeling like it was unsuccessful,
Yeah, no, it's really hard, and I think even if you had decided to close for any other reason, it's always difficult because it's your thing. So it's a little bit of you anyway. It's very hard to dissociate for you from your own business
That's
when
it.
you started from scratch.
It's crazy, right? It's like you're leaving part of yourself behind and you didn't really want to do it, but you know it's the right decision. So you're kind of like in between.
Do you feel like you learned a lot during that time? As in, was it useful for you to have your own business at that time, like quite
Oh
a
my
young
God.
age?
Like, of course, it brought me a lot of responsibility. It brought me also a lot of knowledge regarding accountability, like numbers and planning a business, looking ahead. That was stuff that when I was working for other people, you don't really think about it, right? You do what you have to do, and they bring you the numbers, they bring you like everything. So for me, I learned also how to manage a team of my own because I have sellers on the store. I had people working under my design team. I had partners. So I also learned to just take charge of a team. It's teamwork and you are responsible for everyone.
But
Yes.
wait, what happened afterwards? Is that did you pivot to art right away? Because I don't remember that bit of your life exactly, professionally speaking. I mean,
What happened is that I went traveling. Yeah, I was really sad, like truly sad with everything that happened. But I knew in my heart that it was the right decision. So I tend to be a very practical person. I said to myself, like, yes, this is it. This is my decision. I have to cope with my feelings now. But at the same time, I don't have to just like be so hard on myself. Like, I have to find something right now. I need a new thing, what I'm going to do. So I decided I was lucky enough to be able to do this. And I decided to take some time off. I think I think it was fair to myself, like have everything after everything that happened and how I was feeling. And I went traveling. And so happens that my mom, well, I was brought up in a family that are obsessed with art. I don't know another word to describe it. It's literally an obsession. And for me, it was a hobby, it was something I enjoyed, that I loved, that I would research. And since my mom is a collector, I was well introduced to all the museum people, gallerists, artists. I would go with her to art fairs because I loved it. And for me at that time, back in the days, I believed that art was just something that I loved and that I would never work with. For me, it was a tool. It was like a hobby, something that I adored, and also a tool for everything else in life. So through art, I would finally get to design clothing. Like I would do a different styling at Vogue, or I would everywhere I would work, I would bring art to my practice.
That's beautiful. I like that.
But
But then,
I never thought of working with it. Now that you're bringing this up, I think maybe because art is so related to our free time. Like you go to a museum when you are in vacation, you go see a gallery when it's weekend. So you kind of associate it with leisure. And I never ever considered working with art ever. 7 years later, we can say that I wasn't really looking at it through the right lens.
yeah.
But when I took some time off, I went with my mother, who is an art collector, to a Venice Biennale that happens every 2 years. We did stay, I think, for 20 days or something.
Oh my God. So you literally got to see it all because usually if you go for a few days, you just get art exhaustion as you walk like crazy and you can't see everything because there are all the pavilions and all the other like satellite exhibitions.
And
That's
it takes a lot visually, right? Like your brain is it can't process any more images because
yeah,
there's
I think
a lot.
you literally can't do it. You at the end of like the third day, you're already like you need to literally stare at a blank wall for 20 minutes because
That's
your
it.
eyes
Yeah,
like can't take
that's
it
it.
anymore.
Stare at a blank wall literally, because if you close your eyes, you're still gonna see all the images that you went through all the day. It's like they're gonna play itself in your brain. So it's crazy. Art
No, that's
exhaustion is
amazing.
a thing.
Yeah, everything in moderation, guys.
Even art.
Even art, sometimes it's just you need a break. Like at Freeze at all the art fairs, I need like 12 coffees throughout the day to like sit and like breathe. I'm like, okay,
Oh my
am I
god.
ready?
I'm doing a detox right now. I cannot have coffee for 2 weeks.
Like,
I'm just
wow.
thankful that I don't have any art fairs to go to.
Because the art fairs are like fashion week. Everybody is there from all over the world, and then you need to see
Well,
everything.
I happened to have witnessed both worlds, even like Fashion Week from inside, because I used to work in fashion, so I did all that stuff. And art weeks. And I have to tell you that art weeks, they are a lot more challenging. They they just like intellectually drain you, physically drain you, and then there's also like this thing that we call art exhaustion, that is like visually it drains you as well. So I think art is more challenging. Well, nothing against fashion, guys. Now I
No.
feel like art takes much more space in my brain when I do it. That is crazy.
So what happened? You were traveling. You went to Venice. Did something click while you were there?
Yes, it did, because there was like a pre-concept of mine that if I couldn't work with something that I loved. If I loved it, then it was my hobby. But
Yeah.
that wasn't true. because when I start working with something that I loved, doors starting to open up for me. Also, a lot of challenges because like there is insecurities, and then you have to deal with a lot of pressure, and you are a young woman in the middle of men collectors. There is that as well. They are a lot older than you are, so there was a lot of challenge for me to.
But it seems like you decided, and once you decided, okay, I'm gonna go for it, you just went because you studied again, right? You
Yeah,
studied art history.
yes,
Where?
yes. So that was it. Like at Venice Biennale 2013, I guess. I decided I would do that. I specialized. I got all like I needed to feel secure, even though I was brought up in this world, the art world. Even though I knew many of the artists, I had long conversations with them on weekends. So I was like literally know everything from the inside with galleries, with all people that work in museums. Like I had already a lot of knowledge, but at that time I felt that I needed to feel secure about my knowledge, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So I went studying, and I studied a lot for a year, like a lot. And that's one thing that I love about art. I love studying, Belle. I love it. I love that every day I'm exposed to 10 different artists that I didn't even know that they existed. So I have to go and deep down study all their works and get to understand the people behind the work. So I love that. I love that shit. Like I really, really love it. And yes, so in the middle of this year that I was like focusing hard in finding confidence through knowledge to work with art, I met a girl that was going to be my first partner in the art world. And we immediately like knew that we had to do something together. And I opened with her my first art consultancy.
Which was Go Art, no?
Yeah, Go Art. It was called Go Art. We would do like traveling with groups for art fairs and biennales all over the world, go with them through the artists, the works. We would do events bringing lessons and teachers. We also would do advising. So we would at that time we were doing a lot of things, but mostly events.
And a lot of international events as
And then
well.
a lot of international events, everything from art courses to visiting biennales, art fairs, cities, museums, everything international and national. So we did a lot of stuff in the United States, a lot of stuff in London, Paris, Italy, Milano, Venice, Brazil. Yeah, there was a lot of traveling. Fast forward, I have now the FV Art Bureau, which is like an art advisory office. I have a partner as well. We don't actually do events that much. Well, at least not as much as I used to do with Go Art, but we do a lot of advisory. And that's what we mostly do, advisory for collections and collectors.
When you were studying and when you started working in it, did you already feel like that's what you wanted to do in terms of career? Or
No,
did you think about something else? Oh no.
I
Okay.
had I had no idea that I would be advising actually. It happens very organically. I was trying to just leave my mind open and see what would come up. Maybe work in a gallery first and then or in a museum. I had no idea where I would like turn out to be. But as soon as I decided to work with art, all my friends that already knew me started to ask me for advice. Oh, Fernanda, I saw this the other weekend at a gallery. What do you think about it? Fernanda, I'm looking for a painting for my house. Do you have any artists that you love? And they would ask me questions of regarding artists or artworks all the time, and I would give my advice, my counsel to them for free. And
Great business skills. But no.
like, I was doing it for free, guys.
For the passion.
Yes, just for the sake of it because I love it. And then Oh yeah, actually, a an artist friend once said to me, like, this is what you should do. Like, you should advise young collectors, like not old, how do you say it? Like senior collectors, people who just want to buy an artwork, and also you should do a consultancy for artists, because every time you work, we talk, we just like have these long conversations. It's so changing for me that I think this is also something you should do. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's
oh,
amazing.
yeah, but I was like, no, there's no way I'm doing it. Like, how can I charge for just, like, I'm not going to charge people for it. And then the conversation died there.
Okay.
Next thing you know, I'm doing it for free.
Did you realize that you were doing exactly what he told you should be doing?
I kind of did, but that's interesting. But I was afraid, like I was afraid of putting a price in my work, in my knowledge. I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling I was insecure. That was it. Yeah.
How
And
did you
then,
overcome this? That's
well,
hard.
I needed someone to tell me in the face. The same artist, he came up to me and said, like, hey, you said that you wasn't going to do that you weren't going to do that. But now you're doing it, and you're doing it for free. What's happening to you? Like, why don't you just go and do it and charge people for it? That's what you should do. So he gave me like this, well, in Brazil I would say this chacoalhão, but it was like,
Chacoalhão.
yeah, it was like a catharsis moment. For me, whenever I say something out loud, it becomes real. So that was the time that I decided that I should do it. I had Go Art at that time. São Paulo has an art fair that is called FV Arte, which is like SP Art. We did have a balcony at the fair, inside the fair, with our logo, everything, information, and we started telling people that we were advising at that time inside the fair.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was nice. We did a really nice program that was supposed, like, you could get, back in the days, you could get an iPad with us, and then there was like different kind of itineraries that would show you, like, oh, you are into painting, so go see this and this. Oh, you're into optical art, so go see this and this. Oh, you like political art, that's the route for you. So people would start noticing what an advisor could do for you, like it's supposed to guide you. And that's why we decided to do this way. But it was super nice.
I
Yeah,
mean, I would love always for someone to do that for me because there are so many options on those places and you get a little.
overwhelmed. Back in the days, like for you to collect art, people would spend a lot of time traveling, searching, researching. You needed to go see artist studios to buy a painting. Now there's the internet, and we can see many more stuff in a shorter period of time. This is good, but it's also like overwhelming. You don't really know what to go for. Like, is this good? Is this not good? This one is better than this one. It's just like it's hard for people to find the right filter. So that's where I believe that an art advisor should go. It's like to guide you, to be a good filter, but always looking through the eyes of the collector, of the client, of the person who's looking for art, because you cannot choose art for someone else under your presets. So we can
Yeah.
filter it, research it, and deliver it to you in a more condensed way. So it gets easier for you to understand and pick what you love.
And how was how is setting up an art business in Brazil? Was it challenging in any way? Did you have to learn anything about like how to import or export things? Do you mostly advise people to buy inside the country? What is the logistics of it?
Logistics in Brazil, if you know Brazil, you know logistics are really, really hard. It is hard because there's a lot of bureaucracy with taxes for you to bring or send artworks inside or outside Brazil. And also, it is a huge country. So even inside the country, we would find obstacles to just move artworks from one state to another one. Then there is that. So it is hard because of the bureaucracy. financially and spatially. But it's also hard because, well, I'm still a young girl, guys. I'm still a young woman, okay?
True, very young.
Back in the days, I was super young. And this is the art world in Brazil, well, all over the world, actually, but especially in Brazil. It was, people would be much older than I was. And I would have to deal especially with men and working on financials, financial advisory, or older men collectors. And for me, as a young woman at the time, it was a bit challenging to just to find my space, like my voice, my confidence, to just sit at the same table of the big guys, gallerist wise as well, because we have like all the owners of the galleries in Brazil, they are still here alive when working. So they have years of experience, like 60, 70 years working. So to sit at the same table and have the same level of confidence to just speak your truth, what you think, it took me I'd say a few years, like a couple of years. Yeah.
And do you think you just started to get better the more you did it, and because at one point you had to just go for it, right? Because you were selling services, and so you had to practice, I guess.
This is something that, thank God, I'm good with. Like when I have to do something, even though this podcast is the first podcast I'm doing in my life. And I told them before we started, I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. It's like, I'm going to do all wrong. And it's in English, like my native language is Portuguese. How am I going to do it? And you see, like when I have to do it, I just go and do it. That's what
You're doing great, Faye. It's going really well.
And I did the same thing with this issue that I'm telling you. Just like, well, if this is what if this is what I want to do, this is what I have to do. Let's go and do it. And I did it over and over and over and over again. Now it's easy for me. Now I can sit down with anyone and just say whatever I think. Because one, I'm always researching. So I have a lot of information that it's based in text, in artist talks. I'm not just giving my opinion, you know? So I do my research and I do my work, my homework. And also after some time, you kind of, it's just like, you know that you have something to say and your voice is in the right spot. It's just like, whatever you're going to say, it is going to be meaningful, you know? So research, purpose, and experience helps a lot.
But Faye, you also specialized in Latin American art, right?
I felt is, since we come from a Latin American country, it is only fair that we could advise better under this category. Like I wanted to offer good advice on Latin America for our clients because we are proud of where we come from. We have an amazing group of artists that we stand by.
Yeah. So I want you to tell everyone the name of maybe 3 artists that they should definitely check out. They can be dead or alive, you choose.
Oh my God, on the spot. My husband asked me like the other day, oh, which music would you like to hear now? I'm like, what? Like you want to hear right now? Well, I absolutely love Leonilson, which is a Brazilian artist that is not well known outside of Brazil, but I believe people would like to research his work. So Belle, if I don't know how this works, but if we could just like leave the name written somewhere.
We are gonna leave show notes, which is very fancy. So when you go to your podcast, you see like a description, it has lots of links. So I'll leave all the names there so everyone can research them.
Okay. Then there is Fernanda Fragatero, which is another, it's a woman artist that I absolutely adore. She's contemporary. She's alive still. Leonilson is dead though. And
that sounded really blunt. He's dead. Move on. No,
yeah.
yes, I know.
He died super young. He died in the 90s. So, but his work is just so contemporary to right now. Amazing work. Everyone should know him. Fernanda as well. I love her work. Let me think of another one. I'm trying to do like a good mix, you know? Gee, I'm so hard with names on the spot. I want to tell you, like, I want to tell something. Give me just a second. I'm going to give his name. Go with Sildo Meirelles. It's a good mix because then Sildo is, well, you're going to see it. You have to go and see for yourself. I like people to go and see for themselves first before I give my opinion or I explain anything to them, because I think like this first impression that you have on someone's work, it's so particular. I don't want to rob anyone from it.
Yeah, that's fine. Guys, afterwards, when you look at it and you want to know more, you can just message Faye. I'll leave her link here from her Instagram, from her company, and you can ask for more information.
Sure.
That sounds like a good plan.
Shoot me a message. How do you say nowadays? Like a direct?
Yeah, a DM.
A DM, that's it.
We are totally dating ourselves here. It's like the other day I said that on my first job I had to use a fax machine, and I feel like some people don't even know what that is anymore. So
you did, but fax machine is one of those equipments that it haunts me still. Like, how does it work actually?
Yeah, no, it's shocking to me. I could not. It's like magic.
It is. It's just like magic. How does it work? How can it do it?
I mean, you're the designer, fan. You should know.
Yeah,
you're gonna build cars.
That's one of the things that took me to designing it. I have to understand how things work.
Before we finish, just leave us, besides the artists, which are great, what is the advice you'd like to give your younger self when you were starting your career?
The advice that I would like to give my younger self would most certainly be, it's okay to change your mind. You know why? Because I feel that whenever we change our minds, there is a part of us that is disappointed with ourselves for changing it, just because it feels like we shouldn't do it. And I truly don't believe that. I think it's very okay to change your mind at whatever point in your life you are. Yeah.
That's a really nice advice. I would like to give my younger self that advice as well.
Cool. We can give our younger selves this advice next time you ring your bell.
Exactly.
I'm traveling.
But thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was super nice. I did my first podcast and I'm so happy it was with you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the final episode of the first season of this podcast. As you know, we have a mentoring and networking initiative, and that will open again for applications earlier next year. So that's 2021 if you're listening to this late. And we have also just launched a membership offer. So if you don't want to apply for the mentoring, you can't apply, or if you're in a moment where you just want more consistent networking opportunities and a collaborative community to support you and your goals, this is the time to join. You'll be able to shape the community, get job tips, resources, one-on-one mentoring, and a lot more. Follow us, and I'll also leave some links on the show notes. If you're listening to this before the end of 2020, have a wonderful break, holiday, whatever it is that you do during this time. I hope you are able to rest, relax, and have an enjoyable time to mark this kind of disastrous year for all of us. And I hope to see you all in 2021.